My boyfriend faked a kidnapping prank on me. Before he could say it's a joke, things got ugly. I am trembling and just created this alt account because my main account has a lot of details about me that would make it easy to trace back. A week ago, my boyfriend told me he had a camping trip planned with his friends on Friday, today. He said he would have no service and he'll see me on Sunday. He messaged me at 5 a.m. this morning and told me that they were hitting the road. Around 8, I went for a run like I usually do on Fridays. I have one headphone in while I do because I was on a work call. While I was running, I noticed an SUV that kept popping up. In hindsight, it looked just like my boyfriend's childhood friend's car. I sent a message to my sister saying to stand by and shared my location. Right after sending the message, I looked up and the SUV was right beside me and someone jumped out and grabbed me. It happened so fast I even dropped my phone on the pavement. I was pulled into this car and I could tell there were at least 2 masked guys in the back before they covered my eyes. In hindsight, they had cartoonish ski masks and black gloves on. I freaked out and resisted like crazy, screaming and kicking. All I could hear was these guys laughing, and I could feel one of them holding me down by my arms behind me, and the other was holding my legs down at the knees. I don't know how long I was in there, but I keep begging them to let me go and crying. I even admit that I peed myself, but I don't think they noticed until we arrived at the house. They pulled me out of the car and I was screaming for help until I was pulled into a house. When the mask on my head was removed, I was on my knees in front of my boyfriend of 2 years. He was staring at me with a confused look before he started to angrily ask his friends what was going on. As I started to adjust to what was going on, I realized he was dressed nice and there was romantic decorations around the entryway to his house. I realized who he was and what was going on and collapsed into sobs. I probably had a 5-minute panic attack in that car on my way there, and another one sitting in the entryway to his house. I was sweaty, wearing soiled yoga pants, flushed with fear, scared for my life. That was all about an hour or 2 ago. My boyfriend took me upstairs and was going to help me get showered and changed, but I wanted to do that alone. I heard yelling and commotion downstairs while I showered, but I don't know what was going on. I'm sitting in his room now, holding my shattered phone after crying to my sister about what happened. She lives 1.5 hours away, but is speeding over to get me now. I can't stop thinking about what happened, and even though I know now I was never in any danger, I don't think my brain can comprehend it. They were snickering and teasing me in deepened voices about what they were going to do to me. The one that was holding my legs down kept caressing my thighs up and down into the inner area. When the car would brake, his face kept falling into my chest. I don't even know who that was. I just know one of them sounded unsure and kept trying to defuse the situation, but I think it was the driver. Edit. I'm working with the police now. This is going to be investigated as a false imprisonment if I press charges. My sense of time was so warped. From where I was picked up to his house was about 7 or 10 minutes in the car. It felt like way longer than that. As for the friends, the driver was his childhood best friend, who I actually get along with well. He was in tears when he voluntarily arrived at the police station for a statement. The other 2 were friends from his athletics class that he started attending a few months ago. It seems like the 2 guys I didn't know wanted in on what otherwise was supposed to be something more innocent. The original plan was for them to pop out of this car in their funny kidnapping attire and hand me a letter that explained I was being summoned by my boyfriend and resistance is futile. Seems like the plan changed as the 2 new friends wanted to shake me up a bit before and make it feel more real. Edit number 3. I've had time to calm down and long talks with my sister. We are going to meet up with my ex-boyfriend for dinner tonight. He has been respectful of my requests for space, but has been emotional whenever he thinks about what I went through this morning. His best friend contacted me repeatedly apologizing for allowing it to get that far, but I asked for him to stop and he did. The best friend's fiance reached out and has been supportive and apologetic too. I am astounded at the support I've received here and wish I could thank each and every one of you individually. I've never had anyone other than my sister and boyfriend care for my mental well-being like this. Reddit is a very kind place sometimes. Update. I apologize for going MIA. I saw my story posted on r/best of Reddit updates, so I finally logged back in. I have a lot I wish I could tell you all, but unfortunately, due to legal consultation, it's best I keep a lot of it private. In short, I'm healing. My now fiancé had a private proposal with me last week. We had many tough conversations, and his responses to everything reminded me how safe and loved I am by him. He didn't ask for or endorse that type of plan. I learned that the 2 friends whom I didn't know were highly influenced by YouTube pranksters and social experiment channels. Also, one of them let us know he is on the spectrum and apologized for his part. I think that's all I can share for now. I am only consulting right now and may not press charges. Thank you so much for all the kindness and support. Opening my inbox today warmed my heart incredibly. Edit. There are a lot of people who disagree with me staying with my fiancé. I'm sorry I couldn't explain in detail how confident I am in him throughout this. Please read carefully before passing judgments, and I'm sorry I couldn't please everyone with my decisions. But after further response, I think pressing charges is the best course of action. Maybe I'm a bit too tender-hearted, but I didn't want the former best friend to get some flack too. But it seems he has to. So, I got friends on the spectrum. They've never fake kidnapped anybody before. I'm just saying. But anyway, you two pranksters and social experiments have ruined pranks since 2016 or so. I hate them. But like the boyfriend said, he didn't know about this, and he was just like, what is my girlfriend doing here in a burlap sack with her soiled pants and screaming and crying? Excuse me? You did what? What? Hold on, excuse me. Hold on, girl. I need to yell at these people. Because what were they thinking? These guys are idiots. But anyway, as for OP, I don't really see a problem with her staying with the fiancé. He's thoughtful, he's considerate, he clearly didn't know about or plan this and had a very negative reaction he removed to the two other friends. OP is referring to the other guy as the former best friend, so it seems like he cut contact with the people who did this idiotic prank. So unless there's another factor here I'm not seeing, don't necessarily think she did a bad thing staying with the person who didn't know about it. And it seems like he addressed it and handled it after the fact pretty well and was considerate about it. But maybe other people disagree, I don't know. But anyway, next story. Story number 2. My 30F husband, 30M, of 7 years is really angry that I refused to quit my job to become a stay-at-home wife/girlfriend. Not sure what to do. Hi everyone, not really familiar with Reddit and having an account, but saw this as an online forum for relationship advice and could use some input. I love my husband and he's an amazing man, but we have flaws like everyone else. We both aged out of foster care and met at a youth fulfillment program, basically a work camp that helps kids with no families learn the fundamentals for living, finances, certificates as needed. We were both 18 and stayed in contact after the program ended. He made it clear he liked me, but I was truly petrified of men at that point in my life due to past experiences and rejected him a bit harshly. I reached out to apologize and we became friends. Then a year or two later, I saw he posted on Snapchat that he was in my area. I asked if he would want to go on a date so I could practice being comfortable around guys, and he agreed. He never made a move, never touched me, never made weird eye contact. If I said no, he didn't ask a second time, not even a suggestion. We went on these platonic dates for months with nothing happening, and one day I asked for a hug and then asked for a kiss, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. We got married a year after, and our 7-year anniversary is right around the corner. We agreed we would not even think about having kids until we were older, since both of us were the products of young parents. We're really just only focused on getting by on using as little money as possible and saving up every dime to buy a house. Thankfully, we got our house a few months ago, and we're both able to quit our second jobs, and for the first time, only work regular 9-to-5s. Yay! I've discovered I really like gardening and baking, and I love having a real home. We have been discussing adding to our family by having a baby, and I feel very ready to be a mom. Scared still, yes, but ready. But my husband brought up how sad I would be if I had to quit since I've worked so hard. I told him I had zero plans to quit. I would only take maternity leave. Plus, my company allows maternal and paternal remote options for 1 year after birth, so I can just work from home if needed. I know it's a lot to do with a newborn, but giving up the security of my paycheck is simply not an option. He told me this is what we worked for, to make our own family, opposite from what ours were like, and I was blindsided by him changing my plans, and I told him no plan has changed. I have a career, and I can be a mom. Plenty of women do it. He doesn't have to quit his job to be a dad, so why should I? He said it wouldn't work for a baby's needs, and I told him, okay, since I make more money, then why don't you quit and I go back to work remotely after healing from birth? That way we both have hands on deck and we don't have a severe loss of income as I make $89K a year and he makes $52K a year. He mentioned that if I trusted him fully, this shouldn't be a problem. I told him I trust him, but I don't trust our current economy. But I left out that I really do genuinely think quitting my job with no savings, wiped out by getting the house, and relying on a man is absolutely stupid. He had plans made previously with his parents and had to leave, so we said we would pick the conversation back up when he gets home, but he's very, very upset. madder than I have ever seen him, and I don't understand why he just assumed I would quit. Not only do I not understand it, but it makes me trust him a lot less than I did yesterday. I have a bad habit of running for the hills when problems come up, and not gonna lie, this is making me really nervous. Thank you for reading all of this if you have. I'm open ears to what could be going through his mind or why he is thinking like this. Really, just doesn't seem logical to me. He's been watching a lot of these videos of stay-at-home wives and girlfriends, and I do feel like this is influencing him a lot. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "So, this is just my opinion. I think his childhood and upbringing trauma is playing a lot into this. This doesn't sound like a situation where he wants to control you like in some posts, but more like a situation where he has idealized what a perfect family might look like, and so he wants to give his children that. You two need to go to couples counseling for a while. Figure it out with a therapist to help intercede and help him understand. Financial security is important. Hold off on getting pregnant until you guys have been in couples therapy for 6 months or so and have begun working towards some common ground. As for him going off to meet his parents, is it possible having them back in your lives is contributing to this need for a picture-perfect family? Just curious." Thank you for this comment. I've been thinking on it for most of the day now. The parents he went to see are foster parents, but there were some legal issues going on and they had to release guardianship. He lived with them from 10 to 15 years old until ending up back at a group home and aging out, but they always stayed in contact and he considers them as parents. But they never lost contact, so I'm not sure if that would be it. But he didn't start seeing them again in person until 2 to 3 years ago. I've never thought he was controlling, but we have talked in the past about this type of thing and I've told him I would never want to be a stay-at-home mom. Maybe at most until they're in elementary, if he was making a lot of money. But we're not at that income level / networking level where I can get away with having 5-year gaps in my employment. Neither of us have attempted therapy again, and most of our experiences were less than pleasant with DHR / child services counselors, so I'll see if he's open to the idea. Update. It's been a few days since he came home and he told me he met a girl at work and she's a better woman than me and that she has a son already and will be a stay-at-home wife or girlfriend or whatever the hell. He gets his happy ending, I guess. He texted me right before I got off work and asked me to pick up food from one of our usual date night spots. I got home and noticed his car had boxes in it and a woman I didn't know. I tried opening the door, but it was locked and she just looked at me. What little was left of our savings, he took, and both of our cats. I didn't see this coming at all. I haven't told any of my friends yet. His adoptive parents have been dropping me off food that I can't even force myself to eat. I haven't cried yet. I'm kind of still in shock. I wish I had a family to run to, but for now, the internet has to do. I haven't answered any of his calls or text messages. He keeps trying to check in and ask if I'm okay. How the hell would I be okay? I never thought he would cheat. I asked him to promise if there was ever someone else, and he would just tell me as soon as he knew. But they've been together at least 6 months. So while he was calling me selfish for not wanting to put in my 2 weeks and be a stay-at-home wife, he was dating her the entire time, planning a future with her the entire time. I feel so stupid. I should have taken everyone's advice more literally. When I asked him to go to therapy, he wouldn't. His parents think he's gone through some mental break. I should have stayed afraid of him and avoided him. I should have chosen a better outcome for myself. I just feel like the same girl that no one wants to love anymore, all over again. I know what he did isn't my fault. I know I could never stop him. And really, do I want a man who doesn't want me? Never. But that just doesn't stop it from hurting. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "He wanted you to be reliant on him and didn't want you to be smart enough to find out his affair. See if you can dig more info about the affair partner. Go nuclear and bomb them both. You are still young, you can find a new love." Once I found out she was 20, I stopped caring. Their karma will come one day on its own. I doubt I will be able to stop myself from having to do hard time in prison if I ever see them again. Then user 2 commented and said, "Let's be real. She grabbed onto him with her kid and he'll leave her just as fast as he left OP when he realizes he doesn't want what he thinks he wants. Mostly because he'll realize it's not what he thinks or it's way too hard for him to do." His adoptive mother called me and is already coordinating to drop the cats back off to me. He didn't know his new girlfriend is allergic to cats. At least I get a laugh already. And then finally, one user commented and said, "If he didn't even know that, imagine what other surprises he's going to discover. What did he do? Just grab the first woman who would agree with his idea of what a relationship looks like and say, 'She'll do'?" Update number 2. Really want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all the people who reached out to me with well wishes, especially other spouses who experienced similar. It helped so much more than you could ever know. There have been a few things that have happened, and honestly, I'm exhausted in every way possible, so the input from folks has really been useful in organizing my thoughts and keeping an open mind. I couldn't help it, but for days I compared us and wondered what the hell he was thinking, until I realized she is a carbon copy of his biological mother, or at least the stories he's heard about her since she died when he was 5. I hate that I feel bad for him still, even after what he's done, but we offered him support for his thoughts. We urged him to go to therapy. I even offered to pay for it myself, and he was too prideful. I lost both of my parents too, at an older age with even more core memories with them, so it wasn't a boat he was in alone, but he chose to act like he was and wallow in self-pity. He called me on our 7-year wedding anniversary, minutes after midnight, whispering apologies and saying he feels so guilty. I asked for what, and he just said, well, you know, what we're going through. I told him, no, it's what you're doing. We are going through nothing. I was abandoned by my husband, exposed to God knows what, while you were effing her and coming back home to me. We were still having sex like every single day, so I made sure he knew just how disgusting I thought he was. Then he got pissed and told me he only started cheating because I couldn't follow his lead? Sir, look where you led yourself. Our entire marriage, I've pushed him career-wise. Hell, the job he has right now, I applied to on his behalf. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure he doesn't or didn't even know what my full job title is. I pushed him to reach out to the adoptive parents when he started getting family obsessed, but neither of us were ready for a kid. He went on about how I broke my promise first when I decided I didn't want to be a real mom by not quitting, that I was turning his adoptive parents against him because they are refusing to meet his new girlfriend. He blamed me again and then had the nerve to say that this could all be put on pause if I can learn how to make decisions that benefit a family and not myself. I asked him point blank if he was insinuating that we could get back together if I quit my job. He told me, yes, I will always love you, but you make things more difficult than needed. I hung up and blocked him on everything. Spent the rest of the night hugging wine in the bathtub and wondering what the hell kind of person I had been sharing my heart with. The next day, he went public with their relationship, posting a photo to Instagram, and most of our mutual friends reached out, with my closest friends commenting less than kind things on the photo. As it turns out, he and his new girlfriend have been together for 7, almost 8 months. She is 20, her son is around 2. I reached out to her ex, the father of her son, who she had left to be with my ex-husband. She moved out in the middle of the day and took their kid, so he was just as blindsided, if not more, than I was. We met up and went for a walk, stopped by a bar, literally cried, laughed, hugged each other, sang songs way too loudly, and sobbed in public like a lunatic, but it helped so much. We also made sure to exchange evidence for any court battles. I'm a little iffy towards him for now, considering that they had quite the age gap. She was 17 when they met, and he was 26. He said she lied about her age and that they met at a college party. And then, next thing he knew, she was pregnant. He gave her money for an abortion, but she came back with baby clothes instead. So he tried to do the right thing and moved her in with him. Also, she's not actually allergic to cats. She just hates them. She was also very aware that he was married and has been to the house multiple times. He admitted that he had cheated on her before their son had been born while she was pregnant, but that she didn't tell him she knew until after she had moved out with their son. He said he was still texting her every day, not just about their son, but also about possibly working things out. He wants her back, but she seems to be head over heels for my husband, just like I was. I told him good luck, but yeah, not the direction I'm going in at all. This time, he made his bed and he will lay in it for good. Our chances of reconciliation are 0. I have never accepted someone back into my life after a betrayal, and it won't start now. At first, I wanted to make sure the divorce was going to be short and as simple as possible, even if it meant giving up some things. But after that conversation, I've decided I'm fighting tooth and nail for everything I can possibly get. I live in a no-fault divorce state, but my state does have special laws for adultery. You can still sue for it here, and the divorce attorney I've consulted said it looks pretty good that I won't have to pay him alimony. He also told me to look into every single banking transaction in my accounts, as he did not think they got an apartment on his income without some extra cushion, aka my money, and he was right. Last year, my ex-husband told me he got really into stock trading and if he could invest some of my money as well. So, guess who was never doing any stock trading, and the screenshots here showed me they were all faked/pulled from somewhere else, and he had been sending that money to his girlfriend or saving it for their new place. I have been pretty enraged since finding that out. He asked his adoptive parents to ask me to allow him visitation rights to see the cats after he had to give them back once he realized his new girlfriend is allergic to them. So, I relayed that he needs to first give me back my effing money and then take it up with the judge. I did not think that visitation was a real thing for pets, but according to my lawyer, it very much is. I officially filed for divorce yesterday, and he emailed me quite the colorful email about how selfish and bitter I am for not putting my pride aside and being so fast to file for divorce, and refusing to let him stop by the house to see the cats that now he's accusing me of cheating. I read somewhere that you never really know someone until you are divorcing them, and I can truly confirm that is true. I felt like you guys deserved some sort of update, considering how much support I was given. I can't share more details for now, but really, thank you all again. New update. Went on my third date after filing for divorce from my husband. I was stupid and got married at 23. We met in a foster youth program. Long story short, I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom since I was the breadwinner. He found someone younger and dumber who would. I had to pick up another job to make sure I'd be able to afford the house on my own. But when my regional lead from my main job heard about it, they gave me a promotion that actually cut down my work time and gives me more money. I still kept the second job though. It keeps my mind busy. Most of my work days were spent in collars and heels, but the side job is a overpriced membership-only gym that I definitely can't afford without my employee discount. I've had a few guys approach me since I filed the divorce paperwork, but I just wasn't feeling up to it. And even though I stopped wearing my ring the day he moved out, I still felt guilty, like I was betraying him. He was the only man I've ever been with, so spending a decade learning everything about one person and now having to switch gears is really damn hard. But one of the guys I see often at the gym asked if I'd be his date to a seminar he's sponsoring. I said no at first, and he accepted the no very gracefully. I saw him a few days later, sparked up some conversation, and asked if maybe we could try a lunch date, just us first. I was fully prepared for him to tell me, nope, you're too late, but instead canceled the plans he had already made. We met up a few hours later, and honestly, my face hurt from laughing and smiling so much. He's a pretty charming man and has a lot of random knowledge about safari animals that gives me the same amount of comfort that watching animal documentaries does. He asked me out for a dinner date the next day, and when he let me know he was in my neighborhood earlier that day, I asked if he wanted to stop by and grab a breakfast sandwich before I left for work. I have a 9-year-old cat who hates like 99% of people, but she loved him and even let him touch her belly. He dropped me off lunch at work, and we met up for dinner, and ever since, we've been texting almost nonstop. I've never felt this comfortable with someone so fast in my life. It's scary, but I've already told him that we're separated. I haven't told him the nitty-gritty details, just that it did not work out and we outgrew each other. But the seminar was this past weekend, and I went as his date. It was a great night. I tried champagne for the first time. He had the best conversations with some of his associates and did a little professional networking too. The tomboy teenage girl I used to be would never believe this. But more than anything, I'm grateful for the support of my friends who got me through the tough nights so I could make it to the good ones. Only up from here, I guess. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "My advice? Your pets know someone better than yourself. I have several, but my point is go for it at a comfortable pace. Your cat gave him the green light, so do baby steps and let this bond grow. I'd be an a-hole if I kept going because you obviously sound smart, so go have fun and live the life that you want. This guy sounds like a real winner in my book." We will be keeping it completely casual. I don't want this bond to grow too much. I think it would be a bit tacky for us to date either way for other reasons. It's just nice to have someone to laugh and smile with. I plan on being single for sure for at least the next 3 years. I owe it to myself. Then OP made one final comment and said, "A marriage is only valuable if it is mutual and both parties are honest. One day I will have a real marriage, but what I had was not that." Oh man, I don't even know where to start with this story. This guy was like, hey, be a stay-at-home mom. Evil laughter. Bro, what? Come on, man. We already know cheating's bad. I'm just like, I don't even want to focus on this guy anymore. I'm just happy for where OP is at now. She's got a nice guy. She's gonna stay single. She's gonna work on herself. She got a mega super duper promotion and got less less hours? What? Lucky. And as for the ex-husband, we already know he's gonna get his karma. There's no way, reasonably speaking, that relationship is probably going to work out. I don't think it will. Something will happen down the line. Something will implode or explode or blow up or a train wreck. I don't know. I just don't see it working out. And karma or not, it just sounds like a recipe for disaster. So forget that guy. Focus on OP. Give her congratulations. Buy her dinner. I don't know. I'm just happy. Anyway, next story. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my flatmate that she should get her nose checked after she said I smelled bad? I, 30s F, share a flat with 2 other people, flatmates, one of whom is someone I consider a friend, 30s F. We keep our bathroom windows open 24/7 all year round to keep dry and reduce mold. Recently, my friend asked me a couple of times to leave the bathroom door open as well. It's been winter the last few months, it only just moved to spring, and the temperature is often around 4 Celsius or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So I said I prefer not to as it makes the rest of the house cold. A few weeks ago, she messaged me in the morning after I had used the bathroom to get ready. TMI but relevant, all I do in the morning is pee, brush my teeth, and apply makeup. I already have deodorant on as well as I shower at night. And she was messaging me, telling me to leave the bathroom door open after using it, as the smell was so bad that morning that she had to turn on the fan, leave the door open, and exit the bathroom because she couldn't stand it. She has also said she has noticed a bad smell coming from my bedroom the last few months when my door's open. I was completely taken aback. I have perfectly normal hygiene habits, shower nightly, wear deodorant, frequently wash clothing and bedding, etc. I had contacted family and friends I had recently stayed with, who all confirmed no bad smell. My sister came to the house and confirmed my room did not smell bad, nor did the bathroom after I used it. A couple of close workmates also said I had no smell. My other flatmate also said there's no smell from my room. When my flatmate had messaged me, she suggested I see a doctor for this supposed odor problem. I took the accusation very politely, despite feeling pretty anxious and embarrassed, and didn't get mad at her, etc. But for complete reassurance, I got checked out by both a doctor and a nurse. Both confirmed I was 100% fine and had no bad odors anywhere. I replied to my flatmate all of this, that it's been confirmed there's no odor issue. I said it's very puzzling what she could be smelling and suggested that COVID may have affected her sense of smell, so maybe she should see a doctor about that. I did not see her for a few days after that, but when she got back, I said hello and she dashed over to me and rapidly and angrily, no hello, said, "What am I meant to tell the doctor?" And I was taken aback and said, "Sorry, what?" She snapped aggressively. "What am I meant to tell the doctor? You said I needed to see a doctor about my nose?" I was completely surprised, so I just kind of shrugged and said, "I don't know," and then she loudly and angrily snapped and said, "Well, you said I needed to see someone about my nose. I can't believe you said that. That's so rude. I can't believe you said that. That's a horrible thing to say. I'm so mad at you right now." And then she stormed away and slammed a door. She accused me of stinking, and I've established I don't. Hence my genuine thought that COVID may have affected her sense of smell, and her response is to get really mad that I dared to suggest her nose is the issue? So, Reddit, am I the a-hole here? Update. Sadly, the situation with my flatmate, aka Crazy Flatmate, or CF for short, never got better. It only worsened over time. I was reluctant to move as I was saving for a household deposit and didn't want the hassle of moving multiple times. CF continued to maintain that I had an odor issue, never could tell me exactly what, and every other person in my life continued to reassure me there was no such issue. And she escalated to slamming doors whenever our other flatmate was not home to show her annoyance. She also started to verbally attack me about it, yelling at me increasingly frequently, again, only ever when we were alone in the house. She started to find other things to nitpick about and just generally made it a very tense and unpleasant living environment for me. When she wasn't slamming doors or yelling, we otherwise completely ignored one another. I never started any interaction with her. She would just yell at me and then literally run away before I could respond most times. All very bizarre and increasingly unhinged behavior. She was still normal and pleasant with everyone else though. Anyway, in December of 2023, I got bank pre-approval to start looking for a house, and then spent nearly 4 weeks away visiting family over Christmas and the New Year, summer holidays where I am. When I got back in mid-January, I started looking for a house to buy. However, when I got home, our other flatmate was traveling overseas. This seemed to embolden CF, as she knew for sure our other flatmate wasn't around, and she got even worse, yelling at me daily, generally insulting me and or my family, noting she doesn't really know my family. And the tipping point for me was when I was leaving for the house for work one morning about a week after I had been back home. While I was locking the front door, she ran past and slammed her fist on the door from the inside after yelling at me from upstairs. This show of violence indicated to me that she appeared to be escalating, and I no longer felt safe. My sister and brother-in-law, who live nearby, very kindly offered for me to move in with them while I continued to search for a house, and after that incident, I accepted their offer. So I am now moved out and have ended all contact with her. It's a huge relief, though a part of me is still sad that a friendship has ended. For those who may not have read my comments, I have known her for over a decade, nearly 14 years. We've traveled together, etc., hence why I moved in with her in the first place. But in happy news, I have just bought a house and can move in 2 weeks' time. I live in a pretty high cost of living city, so buying on my own has left me pretty chuffed. The silver lining is that all her craziness really kicked me into gear into buying a home, and I always try to be glass half full, so it's nice to end this saga on a good note, I think. Okay, so I am just absolutely not satisfied with the roommate slash friend of 14 years behavior. And the only thing I wish I knew is, what is her problem? Does she have some insecurity with her nose? Did she have a mental break? Okay, she is Cassie and I am Maddie, and I'm going to yell at her and kill her, but mainly confront her. Just be like, hey girl, what the F is going on right now that you are acting like a child? Or I don't know, like if I was in Mopi's situation, I would have been like, hey guys, here's proof that she's evil. Vicky the babysitter is evil. I'm with it with the pop culture references today, but I don't know. This is just insane. I mean, but really what really matters, even though, you know, we like to know things and drama, what really matters is that OP is out of that flat or apartment and is now in a home that she owns, and that is way better, and now she doesn't have to deal with the crazy lady. I don't know, like what is the reasoning for that behavior? I don't know. My mom kicked my 16-year-old sister out. I don't know what to do. Hi friends, I hope I can call you friends. My sister and I are in a rather large and stressful pickle. I, F23, and my sister, F16, are currently dealing with a family situation that has quickly become entirely out of control. For quick context, growing up with our mother has not been easy. Things were always either really good or really bad. I can take responsibility for the fact that I was not a particularly easy child/teen to deal with. Is anyone? My, at the time, single mother could be very emotionally erratic, but worked a lot to support us, which I was always very thankful for, conscientious and forgiving of, even as a 7th and 8th grader. In high school, I was kicked out a few times, which was incredibly traumatic, but I scraped by and eventually moved a province away from home at 17. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 19, which was a little confusing as the general consensus on the cause of the BPD is childhood trauma. It has taken some time, but I can now pinpoint the things my mother has done that led me to being borderline. Things that I never held against her, and have been very forgiving towards, as she discovered around the time I started high school that she has hypothyroidism. I've discussed with her what I think caused my mental health issues and clarified that I hold none of it against her as she did her best, and, in theory, learned from those mistakes. However, my sister is now 16, and my mother has taken to making the exact same mistakes. My sister has been staying in my apartment with me since Tuesday now, because my mom kicked her out. This has unearthed a lot of my own unresolved trauma that I had blocked out, and I am shaken. I am an independent 23-year-old woman, and yet I feel like a helpless 16-year-old all over again. I am incredibly stressed about my sister, and her emotional/mental well-being, as well as my mother's. Unfortunately, in the heat of the moment, I said some nasty things to my mom, hoping that would be enough to shake some sense into her. I haven't spoken to my mom since the night my sister got here, in the hopes that things would cool down. However, my mother has been texting my sister about giving up guardianship of her over to me. My mom texted the both of us today, Friday, that she would be willing to bring us groceries and necessities and sit down to have a conversation with us. I am unsure how to answer her as I am. To be frank, I'm going through it right now. And I am concerned about her coming to my apartment as I am a live-in barn manager. My apartment is literally above my place of work. I am afraid to speak to my mother. I am afraid to have her here. I am afraid of allowing her to bring us stuff for fear that she will hold it over our heads and use it to manipulate and control us. But I want to try and fix this situation and be done with it. I am exhausted, stressed, and scared. Opinions? please? Okay, so I don't have any real advice. I don't know how to address this situation. So I say we address it like how YouTubers do it and settle it in a boxing ring. Yes, custody for the daughter versus therapy for the mom, all right? If OP wins, then mom has to go to therapy. And if the mom wins, then OP has to take custody of the daughter, all right? They have to go full rounds. Who are you betting on? I think I've got my money on OP, but for real, I don't actually know how to address this one, so I'm gonna mask it with humor, like I do throughout most of my life. But if you guys have something to say about this story, leave it in the comments. Anyway, next story. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be my friend's alibi so he can cheat on his girlfriend? I am 21, have known my friend Matt, am 21, since we have started college. We're in the same program and have been roommates since day one. Overall, I'd say Matt is a great guy. However, he has a terrible tendency to cheat. Throughout college, I think Matt had 5 to 7 different girlfriends, and each of those relationships ended because he would cheat. Back in January, he started dating his current girlfriend, Jen, F21, and has been with her far longer than any of the previous relationships. From my interactions with Jen, I know she's a wonderful person. She's very polite, beautiful, and clearly devoted to Matt. For the past few weeks, Matt has also developed a close relationship with his anatomy lab partner, Cindy, F21. It's become pretty clear to me and my other housemates, Kyle, M21, Robert, M22, and Omar, M20, that there is some romantic relationship between them. We've all even met Cindy as she came by our house a few times. Long story short, Matt has told me and the other guys that things between him and Cindy are moving fairly quickly, and that Jen is completely in the dark about this. He told us that for the foreseeable future, he'll be spending a few nights hanging out at Cindy's place. Here's the issue. Jen and her roommate don't live that far from us, about a 7-minute walk, so there's a good chance she'll come by looking for him, according to Matt. Therefore, he wants us all to make excuses for his absences and potentially reassure Jen that he isn't up to anything bad. Kyle and Robert are fully on board with this, as they consider it the bro code. Omar is fully against this, and while he has not said he'd tell Jen, he has refused to lie for Matt and has been urging him to end things with Cindy. I would say I'm more neutral. I don't think what Matt is doing is appropriate, but I don't think it's my place to tell Matt how to manage his relationships. I told him that while I wouldn't seek Jen out and tell her what's going on, I wouldn't lie to her either about where he is, and instead say, I don't know. We all argued about this for a while, and the general gist of things is that Kyle, Robert, and Matt all think that I'm being a bit of an ass for not being more cooperative. Aside from this, I don't think there's really much I can do. Moving to somewhere else is both economically and logistically unfeasible, so I think trying to avoid stirring the pot is my best bet. So, am I the a-hole? Update. I'll start this update by saying Jen found out last night. Like Matt predicted, she came over to our house Tuesday evening. I saw her pretty quickly since I was also coming back from buying some food. She asked me if I knew where Matt was, and I said I didn't know because I genuinely did not know at the time. And she mentioned how he wasn't responding to her text messages and that she was worried about him, and I felt pretty bad hearing that. Kyle, who was inside, came out at this point and said that Matt was in his anatomy lab and then reassured her that he'd contact her once he was finished. She didn't seem entirely satisfied with that answer, but thanked us anyway and left. Once she was gone, Kyle told me that Matt was actually on a date with Cindy. Since Matt sometimes brings Cindy over, he'll text the house group chat before they come over to ensure that Jen isn't around. He did this on Tuesday night, and Kyle did alert him that Jen had stopped by looking for him, so he stayed over with Cindy on Tuesday night. Wednesday evening, only Omar and I are home. Kyle was with his own girlfriend, and Robert had an exam. Around 7 p.m., we got a text on the group chat from Matt saying he has plans bringing Cindy over at around 8:30, and he asked if Jen came by. I told him that I hadn't seen her, and things went on as usual. I'll add that Omar has refused to respond to these specific text messages from Matt, so there was an expectation on me to clarify if Jen was here or not. A little after 8 p.m., Jen comes by with one of her friends, Carly, F21. They asked us where Matt was since Jen hadn't seen him a lot lately. Before I could even say anything, Omar told them to come back after 8:30 and Matt should be home. They left, and I did argue with Omar about his decision to tell them to come back since it was inevitably going to cause drama, but he didn't care. I did text Matt and told him about Jen potentially returning, but since he was driving, he didn't read the message. At this stage, I gave up trying to contact Matt and went up to my room. A little after 8:30, Matt walked in with Cindy, and not that long afterwards, Jen and Carly returned. Omar let them in. Long story short, there was a lot of Jen yelling and Matt lying and apologizing. I didn't bother coming down since I could hear it all from my room. After about 10 minutes of this, Jen and Carly left. Matt sent Cindy home after this and was pretty pissed at what happened. I reminded him that I sent text messages, which he now saw, and Omar played dumb, acting like he didn't see Matt's message about him asking if Jen was home, but confirmed to him that he told Jen to come back after the first time she came because he didn't think Matt was dumb enough to go out with Cindy 2 nights back to back. Robert and Kyle came home after this point, and I filled them in on what happened. There was definitely some tension in the house this morning, as Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. He also partially blames Cindy for wanting to come over so often. Overall, Matt doesn't really seem to care that Jen found out and broke things off with him. He said he'll try apologizing one more time, as he does prefer Jen to Cindy, and if she doesn't accept, he'll leave things as they are. As for Cindy, Matt has already told Kyle, Robert, and me this morning that he plans on ending things with her after the December exam season. He says that he wants to be single again by New Year's so he can have a fresh start. Kyle and Robert think this is pretty hilarious considering how much trouble he got into to be with her. Things have ended more smoothly than I thought, and I've made it abundantly clear to Matt to keep me out of his relationship woes. I have also asked Carly how Jen was holding up this morning, as we share a class together. As expected, Jen was very upset about the entire ordeal, and she and her friends consider everyone at our house aside from Omar to be complicit and awful. Update number 2. I've been receiving a lot of DMs from people wondering how things turned out after the big reveal. So here's a quick recap. 1. Jen did not accept Matt's apology. She has indicated that she, in fact, never wants to see him again. 2. Matt is still with Cindy, and he still plans on breaking up with her after exam season. According to him, Cindy is starting to feel pretty secure now that Matt is no longer with Jen and has expressed her desire to form a serious relationship with him. While he does feel a bit guilty, he thinks it's best for both of them he ends things with her before New Year's. 3. Despite feeling guilty, Matt has attempted to reactivate his Tinder account, but Kyle made him take it down. Kyle thinks it's too soon for Matt to do this, since someone we know is bound to see him there. And according to Kyle, Matt needs to play up the angle that he's heartbroken about falling out with Jen. 4. Kyle has smoothed things over with his girlfriend by claiming he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert asked him to back him up on this and expressed that nobody aside from Matt knew. 5. While I did plan on telling Carly the truth about what was going on, considering how quickly Matt, Kyle, and Robert have been moving, I opted against this. Instead, I've told Carly that I also did not know about Matt's cheating. Yes, it's a lie, but since I was against Matt cheating, I don't think it's fair for me to go down with the ship considering that both Kyle and Robert are getting off relatively scot-free. Apparently, I was convincing enough, as Carly told me that while she herself doesn't think I'm so bad, Jen will need time to process what went down, so it's best to give her some space. Again, I get it isn't the most appropriate measure, but I really don't think I deserve to be in the splash zone. And 6, Omar has expressed his strong disappointment in all of us, but at this stage, his voice has become ambient noise according to Kyle. Since I'm fortunately visiting my parents this weekend, I get to be away from the drama and hopefully any potential fallout. Also, since it's relatively earlier, we'll have to wait and see if anything else happens, but I hope and pray the worst is over. Update number 3. For those wondering why I haven't posted another update, I was busy with exams. However, things have largely calmed down. Omar is doing all right. We're not ostracizing him or anything. All he has is bad exam anxiety. Despite consistently getting good marks, we went out to celebrate his birthday a few nights ago, and this did help us all de-stress. According to Carly, Jen is still very upset about what happened with Matt. However, fortunately, she's less depressed about it now, and feels anger towards Matt more than anything else according to Carly. As for Matt himself, he still claims to be on course to dump Cindy sometime in the near future, as he has remained adamant about being single by the new year. Matt and Kyle claim that it is fair considering the role that Cindy played in all of this, but I'm not so sure. Kyle has pretty successfully smoothed things over with his own girlfriend. For a bit, it did look like she wanted to take a break from him, since she did hear about him telling Jen that Matt was in his lab instead of with Cindy. She was suspicious, but he did reiterate to her that he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert helped him with this, and now they have successfully put the entire thing on Matt. And Matt is okay with this, as he does now admit some responsibility, but he only made this admission after Omar essentially had to spell it out for him. Aside from this, not much is happening since everyone is mainly focused on their exams. Update number 4. So there have been a few developments since my last post. Before you ask, no, I haven't told Kyle's girlfriend anything for obvious reasons. Firstly, I don't want to ruin my housing situation. Second, it would be my word against Kyle's, Matt's, and Robert's, so she probably wouldn't believe what I have to say. Also, I've started seeing a new girl myself, and things are going smoothly. Snitching on Kyle would probably ruin that as well. I asked Omar privately if he was going to blow the whistle on Kyle, but he didn't give me a particularly straightforward answer. He's hard to read, so I don't know what he'll do. Kyle has begged him not to say anything, so we'll see how that holds. I'm guessing Omar has probably already told the girl he likes about the entire situation. They act like a married couple, despite not really dating, so if he knows, she probably knows as well, which does put Kyle at some risk of being found out, but this is only speculation and not my problem. Matt's plan to dump Cindy and be single by the New Year's has completely fallen apart. As you may recall, Cindy is Matt's lab partner, and the anatomy class they're taking is a full-year course. As Omar so smugly pointed out, Matt wants the anatomy professor to write him a reference letter eventually, since he has done prior research with this professor and is doing well in his class, and if he were to have a conflict with his lab partner, that might spoil the letter. Omar has been throwing this constantly in Matt's face by saying things like how Matt needs to pretend to love Cindy even though he isn't capable of love, and how he can't be a hoe anymore because it will affect his academics. He says this all jokingly, but it is hilarious considering how worked up Matt gets. Jen and Carly are doing all right. I saw them before leaving campus the other day and we spoke briefly. I've heard that Jen is starting to reconnect with her ex, the guy before Matt, and before you ask, she didn't cheat on this guy with Matt. She got with Matt a few months after she and the guy ended things. Hopefully, she finds happiness there. Since our winter break has started, we'll all be headed our separate ways for most of the break. I do plan on hanging out with the guys a few times, though for now, as much as I love tea, I need a break from their drama. Update number 5. Unsurprisingly, Matt, M22, has cheated again on his newest girlfriend, Cindy, F21. I use the term girlfriend loosely because realistically, Matt only stayed with Cindy because he needed a recommendation letter from a certain professor and didn't want issues in the class he shared with her. Cindy was essentially a placeholder since Matt no longer needs that letter. Lucky him. He's more or less done with her. He went on quite a tirade about how annoying and clingy she is, and again mentioned how he still prefers his previous girlfriend, Jen, F21, to her. Matt revealed this information during a completely unrelated conversation to me, M21, and one of my other roommates, Omar, M21, last night. The two of us had no idea this was going on, as Matt has been more secretive about whom he tells his relationship info since the last time he cheated. Our other roommate, Kyle, M21, has told us that he has known about Matt cheating on Cindy for almost 2 weeks now. He and Matt are besties. I'm not sure if our other roommate, Robert, who wasn't here last night when we were having this chat, knows about Matt cheating yet again. I didn't bother asking Matt or Kyle if he knew. Of course, Cindy has no clue that Matt has been unfaithful, nor does Kyle's own girlfriend, Olivia, F21, know that Kyle has essentially been helping Matt cheat on Cindy. I kinda knew that Olivia wouldn't know for obvious reasons, but I didn't want Kyle to confirm this with me. The only reason I got this confirmation was because Omar stupidly asked Kyle, "Does Olivia know?" Realistically, Omar knew damn well that Olivia wouldn't know. She didn't know last time Kyle covered for Matt, but I guess he wanted to burden us with this information for whatever reason. Omar then asked Matt if he was going to break up with Cindy, and Matt only responded by saying, "Eventually, yes." I asked Matt what he meant by this, and he clarified that he wanted to be done with Cindy by reading week, about 2 weeks away. For those wondering, I'm still here for 3 more months until my lease is up. Update number 6. Regarding the DMs. I'm only writing this because I've been getting far too many DMs and I just want to address a few things here. Firstly, please stop DMing me. I've gotten over 50 in the past few days, and more or less, they're all the same nonsense. Second, nobody should expect me to march over to Jen and Carly's house and tell them and all their roommates that I knew Matt was cheating on Jen for weeks before he got found out. I have a pretty good reputation and don't want to needlessly damage that. You're free to call it cowardice, but I think it's pretty pointless to go talk to Jen since she has largely moved on. I truly hope she's in a better place. Carly and I still have a few classes together this semester, and she generally has a very good opinion of me. We share notes pretty often, and I know that telling her would make her disappointed. Third, nobody in our house has any intentions of telling Cindy that Matt is actively cheating on her. We are all pretty busy dealing with exams, assignments, and interview prep to worry about that. I, however, told Matt firmly that he needed to stop playing games and at least try and hold down a serious relationship after the Cindy saga ends. He said he would heed my advice, but I don't really believe him. Fourth, Kyle's girlfriend Olivia doesn't know about how he's helping Matt cheat on Cindy. Omar did tell him that he should probably come clean about that before it bites him in the ass later. Robert, on the other hand, told Kyle that telling Olivia is madness, since she may react as if Kyle was the one cheating. Obviously, Matt doesn't want Kyle to tell Olivia anything. Lastly, I don't expect Omar to run around spilling tea like most people think. He's got enough on his plate between schoolwork, interviews, and prepping for Ramadan. However, I will admit there is a small chance the girl he likes, Sarah, F21, knows about our situation and may tell Olivia. Kyle does worry about that. New update. Probably the last update. The second term at university is finally starting to wrap up now. I had a few stressful midterms, but for the most part, things seem to be calming down a bit. I only have about 1.5 months left on my lease, and then I'll be able to leave all my roommate drama in the past, as this is our last year of undergrad. Just a few days ago, Matt told me and the other guys that he had finally dumped Cindy. It came a bit late, as I remember him saying something about wanting to be done with her by reading week, which ended on February 25th. He admitted that he kept her along partially for his lab class. Now only a few more lab sessions remain in the term, and most of them are independent work according to Matt. Supposedly, Cindy is distraught, though since she knows about Matt's antics beforehand, I hope she had the foresight to mentally prepare for this outcome. At least, she doesn't know she was cheated on. Since dumping Cindy, Matt has started seeing a new girl. So far, he claims to like her, but since he's likely going to move this summer to attend med school, the relationship already has a predetermined expiration date. Omar asked him if the girl knew what she was signing up for, and Matt gave a lame answer about not knowing the future and how she might prefer this sort of arrangement. Omar was a bit annoyed by this and told Matt that he was behaving like an a-hole. I agreed with Omar and told Matt that he was probably already lining up potential affair partners. He denied this and said that if things went well enough, he'd be open to trying a long-distance relationship, assuming he moves out of province. All of us called BS on that, even Kyle and Robert. Speaking of Kyle, he has still not told Olivia about how he has been helping Matt cheat. Olivia is pretty friendly with Omar's so-called future wife, Sarah, so maybe she tells Olivia, I don't know. Kyle is worried about this outcome and asked Omar to help with damage control if this does happen. Omar has refused and claims he can't lie since he's fasting these days. He thinks that Kyle should just tell her so that way she'll maybe appreciate the transparency. Robert warned Kyle against this and said that it would probably just create drama and stress for him. I've been telling my own girlfriend some of what's been going on, and she has expressed to me several times that she doesn't like Matt or Kyle. Between all the papers she writes for her courses and prepping for the LSAT she'll be writing in the late summer, she's got enough to worry about. But she did tell me that she would like me to be firmer with Matt, so I've been calling him out on his problematic behavior more often. The last thing I'll add is that Jen is thankfully in a better place now. Carly told me that Jen started talking with a new guy a few weeks ago, so hopefully that works out well for her. Funnily enough, Matt knows this as well and seems bothered by it, but there isn't much he can do about it aside from coping, I guess. I feel like Matt is the type of person who should probably be in an open relationship, but I feel like if you gave him that, he'd be like, no way, bro, that's crazy, I would never do that, while cheating with every girl on campus. Also, this is just my personal prediction, but I feel like something is going to catch up to Kyle and his girlfriend in the secret he's hiding from her. That's just what I think's going to happen. As for OP, I kind of understand where he's coming from, where, you don't want to mess up the situation with the people you're living with, but, he wasn't corroborating the lies. There we go. So, I mean, I get it, but then, he was being neutral, but maybe he was being too neutral, so I don't know. That's up for you to decide, but I understand not wanting to, mess up the home situation. But also those poor girls that Matt just kept lying to and using, and it's not a good thing, okay? And I feel like I need to say this every time. I don't approve of cheating, duh. But anyway, I don't know. What do you guys think about this story? What do you think about OP's stance on this? I'm curious. I mean, it's not his business, right? But at the same time, those girls, should probably know that stuff. But then, his home situation gets ruined, and then so many factors. But anyway, next story. Story number 3. My boyfriend and I were supposed to move in together. 2 weeks ago, he bought an $87,000 truck without telling me. I refused to move in with him. I am very annoyed. He didn't even speak to me about it. We had so many discussions about moving in together, getting married, and then he goes and purchases a truck $2,000 more than his yearly salary. If you're asking how can a truck be $87,000, that's the price you get when you put every addition you want on it. He showed me the truck expecting me to be excited, and I was livid. When he bought the truck, we were only a month away from moving in together. We got into a bad argument where he told me it was his money and he could do whatever he wanted with it. So I said fine and told him I'm not comfortable moving in with him anymore. I asked my landlord if my apartment was still available and if I could renew my lease, and they said yes. And now my boyfriend is saying he can't afford his place and his truck. I don't feel bad. You should have thought of that before buying something so expensive without talking to your girlfriend of 2 years. I've had some of his friends' girlfriends reach out to me and say I should support him, and one even say that I'm not loyal, and that this shows I wouldn't support him if we were married since I run away when finances get bad. That is BS. He didn't lose his job or get hurt. He bought an expensive item without discussing it. I have been trying to get him to return the truck because it's already affecting his finances finances badly. He has only had the truck for 2 weeks, and he is worried that in the next month or two, he won't be able to cover all the expenses he usually has. This past weekend, we had another argument, and I think our relationship is going to end. I'm not helping him pay for this truck, and I'm not moving in with him. I have asked for a break, and I will be thinking about what to do. Edit. I appreciate the different opinions everyone has given me. I have a lot to think about. To answer 2 questions, no, he doesn't need the truck. He works from home, and if he has to check in at work, he has an office. Also, his friends and their girlfriends know about this issue because he asked for their views when we went to a get-together last week. Only 2 girlfriends reached out to me to tell me I wasn't being supportive. The others have minded their business. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Good job, recognizing a bad situation when you see one. This dude fully expected you to supplement his lifestyle after moving in together. All his money would have gone to paying that truck, leaving you stuck with the lion's share of the bills, and that's why he's panicking now. Stay in your apartment, OP." Then user 2 commented and said, "Yeah, no, you were right to put yourself first. He's going to end up drowning in debt. Least you won't be there to see it. I would imagine he thought he could make you take the majority of rent and household expenses while he just put money in his truck." And finally, user 3 commented and said, "The minute he was expecting you to help finance his life, it ceased to be his money. You absolutely did the right thing. That man was going to use you to pay for his expensive truck. Ask your friends' girlfriends if they want to give up their life to finance his mistakes, cause you sure as hell won't. And you shouldn't. It'll only get worse if you enable him. He'd be coming home with a Ferrari next." Update. Yeah, so I broke up with him, mainly because I realized we aren't financially compatible. Before I go into what happened, I do want to say something. I understand we weren't married, but we were both moving together into a new place and had several discussions about this move and our plans for the future, including marriage. For the people private messaging me saying it's his money and he can do whatever he wants, or you're only 2 years into a relationship, you're not a wife, I know that, and I've never asked what is in his bank account or told him what to do financially. I'm aware it is his money, but I also know his financial situation, and he was making decisions without my input that, if we were to stay together, would not only affect him, but also our relationship and our financial situation for years to come. I will die on this hill. This is not okay. And if it's okay for you, that's fine. But for me, if we make a financial plan and you make a huge decision without me, I won't be okay with it. And that's a big reason why I backed out of moving into a new apartment with him. I would have never made a decision like this without his input at all. The main reason why we decided to move in together was to take the next step in our relationship, but also to pay down our debts. I now have $22,000 in debt from student loans and a car. When I met him though, it was around $60K, and I was basically living on credit cards. Within the first couple months of us dating, I saw how hard he worked, and with a salary at $85K, he was making huge progress in paying off his loans and credit cards. On my end, at the time, I was only making $50K. I honestly saw his work ethic and was like, wow, and got serious about my debt. I got a second part-time job where I was making $32K a year, bringing my salary to $82K. I did that so I could pay off my debts faster, but also so that we would be on equal footing when we moved in together, and he didn't have to pay significantly more in living expenses than me when we had more debt. We did a complete budget months before we moved in together and realized that we would each have $700 extra a month to put towards our own individual budgets. This is why the purchase of this truck was so surprising to me. We had planned this move for months. We had a budget, and he destroyed that plan with the truck. If he wanted a new car, there are plenty of cars he could have gotten that would have fit into the $700 monthly surplus he had. Anyway, for the past few days before we broke up, he tried to show me that this truck was a good financial purchase and we could still move in together. He told me that he had actually budgeted for this and could show me how he could afford this. I wanted to hear him out, so I went to his place, and he had 2 budgets. He said that he had been thinking of getting this truck for some time, and he had worked out a budget beforehand. He showed me the first budget, and after his truck, insurance, expenses, and his debts, he was left with $115 for the month. I noticed with the first budget, he didn't include groceries, his hobbies, going out, or even gas for his car. I asked him how $115 was enough to live off of for an entire month. I asked him how he could afford all of this and his truck, and if he planned to give up some things. He said no, he didn't plan to give up anything and that he could make everything work in his budget. I asked him what if he had an emergency or needed gas for his truck, and he just kept saying he would work it out without explaining how. After I saw the first budget, I asked to see the documents for the car, and that's how I found out the truck price was $95K total after taxes, registration, and fees. He He traded in his reliable 2003 Toyota and all his savings to get a loan at 14% for 72 months. His monthly payment is now $1,966, and insurance is $573. He also has student loans, which are significant. I kept telling him $115 left over monthly wasn't enough. That's when he showed me his second budget, which had a combined higher monthly income. I asked him if he was getting a second job, and he said due to his first job relying on him to be on call, he couldn't. I asked where the income was coming from, and this man said, "Well, you're getting a raise soon." I froze because I had mentioned this raise once months ago. My first job is my career job, and I work in a field where when you hit a certain milestone, you get a pay bump. In September, if my raise is approved, I will go from $50K to $80K. And with my second job, my total yearly income will be $112K. In September, if my raise is approved, I will go from $50K to $80K. And with my second job, my total yearly income will be $112K. But getting the raise isn't a guarantee. You have to meet a certain criteria, and if you don't, you have to wait 3 months before trying again. So when he said that, I was quiet, and then I said, "So, you planned a budget that included additional income that I wouldn't get for at least 6 months, and income that I might not even get in September?" He said when I got my raise, the ratio of what he would pay would decrease, and he would have more disposable income. I asked him why it was okay for him to plan budgets with my income, but yet I had no say in how he spent his. He couldn't answer that. I told him I had no issue with paying more bills if I got a raise, but the fact that he banked on that, didn't discuss it, and now expects me to be okay with it is ridiculous. I also said there's no way I wouldn't be paying more with the first budget because he wouldn't have been able to survive on $115. I told him he didn't communicate, and this is on him because he made huge financial plans without discussing anything. Finally, I told him I would never have done any of this without going to him first because I thought we were a team that was building something. I ended things the next day, and he has been trying to reach out to me, but I am not interested. He has financially crippled himself with this truck. If, with my income now, he could barely make it, he sure isn't making it on his own. I really hope that things work out for him and he is able to keep his truck and recover, but I'm not paying for the consequences for such a massive financial mistake that is going to hugely affect him for years to come. If I were to stay, this financial decision affects me as well and would continue to affect both of us for years. Again, this is different from becoming ill or losing a job. He chose this and refuses to budge and fix it. I now realize we are not financially compatible, and that's okay, and I wish him the best. Now, here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "I have to ask, how are you handling this with so much grace? I would be pissed if my ex, who I was so emotionally invested in, pulled this on me. It's not just that he made an irresponsible decision, it's the fact that he could leech off you and your money to pay it, and somehow blindside you to get away with it. You don't badmouth him a single time and did the right thing immediately, break up, and have already accepted that you both are incompatible. I am in awe of how decisive and yet non-aggressive you were. I wish I could be that way." To answer your question about why I'm not badmouthing him, it's because I'm sad. I'm sad about what he did to himself and that I had to leave because he isn't seeing how bad this is. I'm sad that just a few months ago, I was planning us living together and a life, and now that's gone. Most of all, I'm sad for him. He was doing so well, and he rubbed off on me immensely in terms of paying off debt and watching your spending. I'm sad that he threw away all his hard work. Dumping on him even more isn't worth it, because when he realizes this mistake, it will be so bad for him. I don't see a point to do it, but I'm not judging anyone who would in these circumstances. Then user 2 commented and said, "You are very smart. I have a wife like you, and we're going to retire comfortably because of that." And then finally, user 3 commented and said, "I am so proud of you. I really wish more young women were as firm in their boundaries and as wise about finances as you are. Mind you, this doesn't make him a bad person, but it does give you insight into what the future would be like with him." Okay, so the last commentary went a little long, so I'll keep this one more brief, but OP did the right thing. The boyfriend, it's his money, yeah, but like OP said, they were trying to be a team. They were trying to build up to that. And yeah, like on paper, he doesn't really need to, but when you're on that trajectory towards marriage and combined finances and stuff like that, you should probably mention $95,000 that you just spent. I get wanting to treat yourself, I get wanting to buy something nice. I'm someone who likes to save my money, but every now and then I like to splurge a little. But this was ridiculous. And as for OP, especially like that last comment mentioned, she had clear, firm boundaries. She wasn't going to drag it on. She was just like, hey, this isn't going to work. Bye. And oh my goodness, I love to see that, right? Because I'm sure not everyone's like that. We listen to these stories. You'll listen to it and be like, wow, this should have ended 4 updates ago. But OP saw it and was like, hey, I can't do this.
this, best of luck to you, and I'm also kind of sorry for you. But anyway, what do you guys think about this story, or any of the stories? There were 3. It's a long video. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye-bye!